What's up, y'all? So this is part two of the video that I've done, which is called what's the name of this thing? What did I name it? I named it Deepthroat Tasha K set to be indicted for setting R Kelly free. Should say ready to be indicted for setting R Kelly free. Play on words, whatever. So today I noticed that Tasha K basically posted a response to all these allegations on one of her alternate channels. I think it's a Wino podcast. I got a chance to look at some of that video, but at the time I was at work and I didn't really have a chance to focus the way I wanted to focus on the video and take in everything that she was saying. The video seemed to be a response to some lawyer who made comments about her, but I don't have all the details about that. If you have the details about that, definitely drop it in the comments below so that I can go and research that. I do know that the lead attorney made a video, and in that video, he essentially said, yeah, Tasha K could go to jail, right? And I don't know if Tasha K has responded to that or if there was something else, because I think she mentioned that she was doing a live, and when she was doing a live, someone hopped in to that live and made some comments. So I'm a little fuzzy on all the details, but one of the things I did notice is that she took that video down, and I believe she also took the live down in which those comments were allegedly made. So I don't really have anything to go on, but I can tell you my general sense. I think I got into maybe half the video. The video that she posted that I saw and was taken down was like maybe 30 minutes long. And I probably got into about 30 minutes, not maybe like 15 minutes of that video, somewhere along half the way. And the sense that I got is that she's basically delusional, right? And I can't really comment on that because I didn't save any of the information, and I intended that I would just go back and basically download the video and then go through it and basically point out where she was, where I felt that she was delusional, right? So when I say, the other thing I want to address is that, someone came to my channel, Donna Timms, and she's not the only one that came to my channel. A few people have come to my channel and they make comments in support of Tasha K, right? Now, I may be joking and I may be, making a little fun here and there, but I'm not being overly vicious. I'm not hating on Tasha K. I'm not attacking Tasha K. I'm just basically reporting on what's out there in the internet stratosphere. If you did the same thing, then this video would be about you, right? So there's no hate on my part for Tasha K. And to be honest with you, I do from time to time go to her channel and I pick up on some of her videos when she is covering something that I'm interested in. I don't cover all the drama and all this, because I'm not really a drama-based person. But if she's talking about something that's has a legal basis, or it is a topic of a legal discussion, I'll go and I'll check that out, right? So I'm covering this story more or less because it's about law. That's it. I have no hate for Tasha K, right? So although I didn't get a chance to actually save the video she made, and I can't comment directly on that video because she's taking it down, I'm going to go ahead and comment on some of these Tasha K supporters who actually come to my channels. Now, this supporter, I'm going to call her a supporter, but she may not be a supporter. Her name is Donna Timms. And she goes, I have to take TK in doses. So maybe she's not a supporter, but she goes, y'all are so funny. How will she go to jail? She received secondhand information. The employee is the only person liable here. She or he could have shared the information with you or me, and we wouldn't be in any trouble if we told others. We do not fall under the same rules as a federal employee who has obligations to uphold federal policies, right? So let me just stop there, and I just want to cover that. So I don't think Donna Timms watched all of the video because I'm not the best commentator. So in the first part of that video, I actually talked about the actual article where I was getting the actual information from or the allegations. And then in the second half of the video, I covered, the law. So I'm not going to regurgitate everything in that video, but we have to go back to the law. So this is 18 United States Code, Chapter 19, and specifically the parts that we're interested in is 2511, 2512, and I believe 2515, right? I'm not going to talk about 2515 just yet. So let me just first say everyone is responsible or can be held accountable to these codes. And if you think you're not going to be held responsible for them, go ahead and break one of them and let the federal government find out and see what happens, right? She believes that we don't fall under the same rules as federal employees who has an obligation to uphold federal policies. And she's correct, but I think she's misunderstanding what's going on here. So a federal employee is going to have specific rules, policies, and regulations on what they need to do to access data, what they need to do uh, to basically do their day-to-day job, and what they're not supposed to do. There's specific rules and policies for that. But in that video, I specifically lay out that basically these are, well, actually, and maybe that's my fault, right? Maybe I didn't make people aware that everybody is responsible for this, right? Everybody is responsible or can be held accountable for 18 chapter 18 basically laws. That's what they are. They're laws. They're statutory laws. I'll just say code. Now you can beat these, right? You can, if it's unconstitutional, you can argue, things of that nature. But in this situation, these codes specifically are written for basically intercepting electronic communications or, basically using wire transfer. So 2511, again, I'm not going to go through all of it. It says interception and disclosure of wire, oral, or electronic communications prohibited. So in this situation, I'm trying to break this down so everybody can understand. I'm not sure what she didn't understand about the last video, but everybody can be held accountable for this. Even if you're not even a United States citizen, you can be in Russia and they can still get you, right? Your only saving grace is that, they can't get hands on you. But if they ask the Russian government to hand you over because you violated the law, you best believe they're going to prosecute you, right? So in this situation, we're talking about electronic communications, right? So we're talking about something that was on a computer. So this applies to Tasha K because she is in possession of information that was on in a federal information system, right? And basically this information was intercepted and this information was disclosed. So I'm not sure what she's not understanding about that. You are responsible and you can be held accountable for uh, Title 18, Chapter 119, 2511. And then there's also 2512, manufacturing, distribution, and possession and advertising of wire, oral, or electronic communication intercepting devices, right? So you can be held accountable for this because she's not manufacturing, the information for. I don't think she is, right? So this is where you're going to be splitting hairs. You got to get into nitty gritty details. But when you get into the actual code, and I'm not going to go through all that now. I go and see the other video because I get into it. But I take manufacturing to mean that you're printing magazines or you're printing or producing a physical item that has the information in it that you're basically putting out there, right? So if I made a disc or if I made a magazine, if I got that information from that agent, the the officer of Bureau of Prisons. Then I put it on the CD, and then I started, basically handing that CD. Well, actually, it doesn't even cover that part. But if I put all that information on the CD with the intent to give it to the general public or to give it to anybody, basically, that would be manufactured because I'm taking the data and I'm putting it on the CD. Then there's distribution. Now, I believe that Tasha K is guilty of distribution because she has an internet channel. It has millions of viewers. It doesn't even matter if it's millions of viewers. It could be 2 viewers, but she's distributing the information that she received from the federal prosecutors, right? Not the federal prosecutors, but the officer of Bureau of Prisons. She is also guilty of possessing the information, right? So I'm not sure what Donna Timms is not catching on with this. Donna Timms, hopefully you're watching this video. And if you are watching this video, respond. And maybe we can have a conversation about this. Maybe I can invite you to a live so we can cover this because I'm not sure what you're not understanding, but uh, the fact that you don't understand, and several other people have come to my channel and they have said some of the same things that you're saying, it prompted me to actually make this video, right? So there's another concept that you need to be aware of, Donna Timms, because the way this reads, you act like she has no responsibility here. And I've already shown you where she does, but there's something else I want to show you. I'm just going to reread what you're saying. You have to take TCAN doses. Okay, blah, blah, blah. She received secondhand information. The employee is the only person liable here. That's not true. I've already shown you the law. And then it says she or he could have shared the information with you or me, and we wouldn't be in any trouble if we told others. That is not true. I've already shown you why that is not true. And then you say we do not fall under the same rules as federal employees who has an obligation to uphold the federal policy. That may be true, but it doesn't change the law that I've just read to you. So federal employees are going to have additional rules and regulations and policies that they're going to have to follow because in order for them to do their job, some of them may need access to information, and they have policies around how they access that information. Now, with that said, you need to be made aware of a concept or a legal doctrine called knew or should have known. And when you look at these codes, you'll find that that language isn't in there. Um, there's actually something else, and I'm not going to go through all this again. I just want to point out, right, some information for you, right. One of the things I actually want to point out, which is a little off on a tangent, it says intentionally uses, endeavors to use, or procures another person to use or endeavor to use any electronic, so on and so forth. So they've already included a third party into this, right? Basically, you don't have access to this information yourself. So you're going to get access to this information through another person, right? So that's already written into the law. That's not what I actually wanted to show you, but I think it's important that I bring that up because you believe because you're removed from the information and there's someone else who's accessed the information that you're not responsible. And that's not true. That's definitely not true. Of course, it's probably going to depend on whether or not that person offered up this information of their own free will, and they're going to be looking to see if there was some type of barter between Tasha K and the officer. And we don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I don't know if Tasha K reached out to that person and says, "Hey, can you get me, this information on R Kelly, or what can you get on R Kelly?" I don't know if she did that, right? I'm not, alleging that she did, but it's a possibility that she could have did that, and it's also a possibility that the officer just reached out to Tasha and said, "Hey, I got information on R Kelly. Do you want it? You know, um, let's talk." right? And I think what's going to matter the most is whether or not there was money exchange, right? Because if there was money exchange, then we're looking at additional charges, right? Which is basically RICO charges, which is the same thing that they're trying to get R. Kelly for. Now, it's interesting because allegedly, Tasha K also had a connect on the case with Brother Polite, where she did come out and she got, information before anyone else did. So if she paid for that information, and if she paid for this information, right, or bartered, doesn't have to be money, it could be barter, then that's going to be a RICO charge, right? But I can't say whether she did or not. I mean, I don't know the facts, right? I'm just speculating. That's it, right? And again, there's no hate here. Now, I just needed to show you that, right? But what I actually wanted to show you is this concept of knowing or you should know, right? So you need to understand this, because what people don't get is that we live in a society of laws, and we have obligations as citizens, right? We have obligations. And this kind of blew my mind. And I used to think that I was free and independent. But to be honest with you, it's pretty tough trying to be free and independent, because you have to, it's tough. It's a very thin line, because you have to, number one, not break any of the laws in society. And then number two, you have to make sure that you don't do harm to anyone else. And that's the most important thing here, is that you have to evade, or you have to not do harm to other people, right? So we get into this concept. It says such person knows or has reason to know. That's what they call a legal doctrine. And legal doctrine is kind of a well-known applied law that basically it can't be debated, right? So this is basically, in my opinion, if someone disagrees, check me on this, comments below. But this is the same concept of you knew or you should have known. And I'm going to break that down. I'm going to, just some random website, Wallace Law. He gets free advertisement on my page. Wallace Law, if you're watching this video, send me some money, send me a donation. But anyway, the article goes, what does it legally mean when someone knew or should have known? This is a well-known legal doctrine, people. And if you don't know this, you need to pay attention, right? And then it goes, in the world of law, whether you know or you should know something has a very different meaning than in everyday life. Certain phrases prompt obligations under the law. Knowing or should have known fall under this rule, as it implies that there is an old duty of care from one individual or entity to another. And then it goes on, for instance, if a hazard led to an accident and a manager knew or should have known about the hazard, it creates liability for the accident. So, long story dull, if you do something that you reasonably know or you should know that your action is going to cause harm to someone else, then you're liable. Plain and simple. We haven't even gotten into the potential lawsuits that R. Kelly could actually hit Tasha K with. We haven't even gotten to that. We haven't even gotten to that, right? So it's really simple. You're doing something that you know is hazardous, or you should know it, and the reason you should know it is because the average person would know it, and you do that, or you do whatever it is, your actions, whatever it is, causes injury to someone, then you're liable, right? So that's why they have that language in the code. Such person knows or has reason to know, right? That's why they have that language there. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all of that. You need to watch the first video in order to, get the full breakdown. But you knew or you should have known, right? Common sense. Common sense is going to tell you, that if these actions that you're taking is likely going to lead to harming someone. So let's apply that to Tasha K's situation. She's taking privileged information, serendipitous information, if you will. That's an inside joke. So, in order to know why, you got to watch the first video. She's taking serendipitous information or inside information, right? And she's disclosing that information to the general public, right? So again, they already have a statute for that, and everyone is responsible for that statute. Everyone can be held accountable to that statute. Donna Timms, if you have a relative, an auntie that works in Bureau of Prison or the Social Security, let's say you have an auntie that works for the IRS, and you're dating somebody, you want to know how much they actually make, and you ask your auntie to, go and pull up that information, then you're liable. You're liable because you just asked your auntie to pull that information. Or let's say your auntie pulls the information and she does it of her own volition. And she goes, "Hey Donna, that guy you making? You know how much money he's making? Here's his tax returns, right?" And then you take that tax return and then you go and you put it out on the internet. Well, guess what, Donna? You're going to jail. You're going to jail, and your auntie is going to jail for giving you that information. So I'm not sure how much more clearer I can make this. If there's anyone that does not understand what I'm trying to, relate to them, comments below. Let me know where you don't understand, because I think this is a serious problem when you have people coming out, adults, right? Now, I don't know how old Donna Timms is. She could be a high schooler or something like that. I don't know. But when you have grown adults coming out saying things like this, you have a problem, right? And they obviously don't know. And maybe they didn't watch the entire video, because I am kind of boring, and sometimes I do drag on, I stumble over words, so on and so forth. So maybe she didn't watch the whole video. Maybe she just watched a few minutes and put a little comments in, so that happens, right? But I'm telling you, Donna, I'm telling you, if you're in possession of information you should not have, you are liable. Because again, let's say you're Tasha K, and the Bureau of Prisons ladies gives you that information and you don't do anything with it. You just take that information and you put that information on your computer and you just go over it a couple of times and you never do anything with it. Guess what? You're still in trouble because you are in possession of that information, right? It's clear as day. It's like right there. I don't know how much clearer to make it. I think the only way that you can absolve yourself from any liability, or to make sure that you are not in trouble over this, is that when someone gives you something that you're not supposed to have, you delete it right away, or you report them and say, "Hey, I don't know this crazy business of, this Bureau of Prisons lady, but she just sent me over R. Kelly's information. I don't think I'm supposed to have this. I'm just going to report it to, the FBI, and, just let them, tell me what I can and can't do with it." Right? That's the only way you're going to absolve yourself. And I'm telling you. And it dawns on me that Tasha K, and again, I'm not hating on Tasha K, but I think that Tasha K is just doing a lot of stupid stuff, right? And she's not thinking, right? And you take the situation with Cardi B, right? You look at that. That's stupid. We're going to get into that in a second, but that's stupid. Then you take this situation where you're getting serendipitous information. I guess I like that word. I'm probably still not pronouncing it right. You're taking information that only the federal government should have, and you're publishing that. That's stupid. That is not what you think it is, right? You think this is um, what did you call it? She could have shared the information. She received secondhand information. It's secondhand information, but it's illegal. secondhand information, Donna. That's what you're not seeing. It's illegal secondhand information, right? Now, the government could have mercy on her, right? The government, we don't know what's going to happen, but she can go to jail. Now, I'm going to tell you off the bat, each of these statutes carry a up to a 5-year prison sentence, each of them, right? Now, I explained in the other video that you can only be charged with one, but you can have multiple counts, and each count can be up to 5 years, right? So I don't know how they're going to calculate that if they actually charge her, but we don't know what's going to happen. And, who knows? Federal government can say, "Hey, we like your platform. We want to use your platform, in a sting, and we're going to give you a plea deal." She can get a plea deal. Who knows, right? Who knows what's going to happen, right? So, and then you say second, if she was liable, the feds would have paperwork drawn up with charges, right? So, and I kind of got into that already. Let me tell you something. The federal government is not like the police. And even the police doesn't necessarily charge you right away, right? And you guys let me know if you disagree with this, right? The federal government is going to take their own sweet time. They're going to sit back with a big bottle of lemonade or a big glass of lemonade, and they're going to they're going to get a warrant, and they're going to slowly but surely go through all of her, all the data that they receive from YouTube. They're going to go through all the videos, and they're going to take their time. They're going to count up all the different charges, right? they have an army of people. Those people are going to take their lunch breaks. They're not rushing in to work. They're going to take their lunch breaks. They're going to eat breakfast. They're going to take their 15-minute breaks at the water cooler, and then they're going to come back to their desk, and they're going to continue to count up all the potential charges. They're going to do a deep dive investigation, and they're going to go through every single thing with a fine tooth comb. That's going to take time, right? That's going to take time. That's the way the federal government works, because they figure, where's she going to go? You see what I'm saying? Where is she going to go? She ain't going nowhere. And if you think that you can hide money from the federal government, that's you're in for a surprise too, right? Unless you're moving money overseas, right? And you have some type of legal construct where the federal government can't get to it, that's a different story. But if you do anything in the US and you think the federal government is not going to be able to get that money, you out of your mind, right? So they're going to take their time. They're not rushing. They have no need to rush because Tasha isn't going anywhere. So they can come and get Tasha anytime they want, anytime that they have no need to rush. Now, with that said, I'm not saying they're going to come after her, but I'm saying they definitely can. Why? Because the evidence is already on her channel. What would happen if she deletes those videos? Doesn't matter, because they can basically get a subpoena from YouTube, and they can say, hey, we want your backup tapes from from 2019 for this particular user. We want a full backup data dump of all her work from 2019. They don't care. They can take their time. So it doesn't mean anything that they haven't come after her yet. They typically don't. The only way they're going to come after you immediately is if you're out there, doing immediate harm to people. You're out there, and then they're going to leave that up to the local authorities. So in most cases, they're not going to make a move right away, right? So I mean, if you think I'm wrong, questions and comments below. Leave a comment below. Explain to me why I'm wrong. But from my experience, that's how they work, right? They're not rushing. They're going to eat their breakfast. They're going to take that 15-minute break, eat lunch every day, and then they're going to come back to the desk and slowly and meticulously go through every shred of evidence. And let me tell you something. When they hit her, if they hit her, I don't know that they will hit her, right? But if they hit her, they're going to produce a document that's going to be the size of a motherfucking college course book, right? The document, the indictment is probably going to be something like, with the evidence, document the evidence and all so on and so forth. That thing is probably going to be like 100 to 200 pages long. Seriously, right? So, and then you say third, how does Tasha putting out information about pedo Kelly cause a mistrial, right? Laughing out loud. Come on, let's think about this. Unless she was speaking with the juror or the judge, she has not interfered with the trial. A lot of y'all want to see this lady fall so bad, y'all hatred for her doesn't allow y'all to think rationally or logically about things. First, I have no hatred for Tasha K. She's just doing stupid things, right? And just like anybody else in the media, if it involves law, I'm going to basically make a video about it. I think what's likely to make me make a video is, the if it's going to impact, or if my audience is going to be interested in it, right? And my audience so far, and I'm hoping to expand it, is generally people of African descent. They want to hear about the law and how it affects them and how it affects people like them, right? So that's why I'm picking up on Tasha K, right? But if it was anybody else and I thought that someone would be interested in watching it on my channel, I pick it up and I try to cover it and give my opinion on it. So there's no hatred. There's absolutely no hatred. I don't know if you meant me or some of these other people in the channel, right? And then you say a lot of y'all want to see this lady fall. I don't want to see her fall, but she is doing a lot of stupid stuff. You're getting information that you're not supposed to have, and it's illegal. So I mean, I don't know how else to put it, right? And then you say, how does Tasha putting out information about pedo Kelly cause a mistrial? Laughing out loud. Come on, think about this. Okay, unless she was speaking with the juror judge, she has not interfered with the trial. Okay, so you're right. Let's think about this. So first and foremost, I got to just get some of the basics out there. So there is something called extrinsic fraud, right? And typically extrinsic fraud, and you're right when you say judge or juror, typically extrinsic fraud is something that happens within the court that prevents R. Kelly um, from getting a fair trial. There's also something called intrinsic fraud, and that typically is something that happens outside of the courtroom. And you know what? Let me just look some of these up. Intrinsic fraud, right? Intrinsic fraud is not affirmative misrepresentation, but instead occurs when a party during litigation has an opportunity to protect oneself from their adversaries' fraud and is has unreasonably failed to do so, right? And then there's also, actually, I didn't like that definition. Intrinsic fraud is an intentional false representation that goes to the heart of what a given lawsuit is about. Okay, you catching this? Intrinsic fraud is an intentional false representation that goes to the heart of what a given lawsuit is about. In other words, where the fraud was used to procure the transaction, if the transaction was fraudulent, it probably does not have a legal status of a contract. We're talking about contract now. And then intrinsic fraud is distinguished from extrinsic fraud, aka collateral fraud, which is a deceptive means of keeping a person from discovering and or enforcing legal rights. It is possible to have both intrinsic and extrinsic fraud, right? So, and then there's different types of intrinsic and extrinsic fraud, right? So let me just say this, without giving a legal dissertation or whatever. So basically, you have things that are happening outside of the courtroom, which is making the case, and then you have things that happen inside the courtroom, right, which can be considered extrinsic fraud, right? So extrinsic fraud is basically anything that keeps a person from getting a fair trial that happens inside the courtroom. And That's extrinsic fraud. And intrinsic fraud is something that happens outside the courtroom that prevents a person from getting a fair trial. So, without going too far into that, let me just say this. So, one of the alleged witnesses is Azriel Clary, Jane Doe number 5. And basically, there was a lot of communication between the grown little boy, Azriel Clary, and Tasha K, right? And basically, at the same time, you have Tasha K allegedly, I'm not saying this is true, allegedly, you have Tasha K getting this information from the Bureau of Prisons and sharing this information with the alleged victim, right? So let's think about this. As you said, let's think about this. So Tasha K is getting this information, which she's not supposed to have, illegal information, okay, that she's not supposed to have, and she's sharing this information with the alleged witnesses. And the argument could be made that had Tasha K not interfered and had Tasha K not gotten this illegal information, she may have not influenced Azriel Clary to testify. Or one could say Azriel Clary was influenced by Tasha K's illegal actions to basically testify. Now, again, whether the information was given to Tasha K freely or whether she paid for it is irrelevant. The bottom line is she was in possession of information that she was not supposed to have, right? Allegedly. And she allegedly shared this information with the alleged victim's father and the alleged victim, thereby basically encouraging the alleged victim to testify. And you also have Tasha K coming out. And I think this is actually funny because you have Tasha K coming out making a video saying that I think R. Kelly may be innocent. And then she goes on to say that she was following the narrative or something like this, right? She has a video on the channel. She was following the narrative that was given to her by a lot of other people. So you have before you one huge mess, right? One thing you should understand is that, the court system is supposed to have integrity. It's supposed to be a system of fairness. And how can you have fairness when you have people getting illegal information and using this illegal information to make the trial outside of court? How can that be fair? You know, that her actions actually compromises the integrity of the federal judicial system. And this is why I believe they are going to come after her. And when I say they're going to come after her, I believe they're going to come after her hard. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But let me tell you, these people are serious about federal courts, and these people are serious about the federal government in general. So the other thing I wanted to pull to your attention is that, there's also section 2515, prohibited use of evidence of intercepted wire or oral communications. I'm not going to go through all that. Watch the other video. But essentially, this is saying that any evidence that you procured illegally cannot be used during the trial. Now, we don't know what evidence was procured by Tasha K, right? We don't know. And we don't know if any of that evidence has already come out in court. But what we do know, right, without making any connections, is that Tasha K, according to Tasha K, she was in communication with the alleged victim's father, and she was in communication with the alleged victims. And this is according to Tasha K. Allegedly. I'm just going to say allegedly because I can't remember all the details. But if you go to her page, you watch her videos, and she'll lay everything out for you, right? We know that. And we also know that Tasha K, according to that article, we don't, and by the way, that article could be lying. You're right. That article could be, whoever wrote that article could have their facts wrong. They could be mistaken, or they could be outright lying. So, that's why everything in this video is alleged, right? So, but what we do know, according to the article, is that Tasha K was in possession of illegal information. We don't know what the terms were for her getting that information. We don't know that, right? Because that hasn't come out. But we know she had this information. We know she distributed this information. And we know that she was in direct contact with the Clarys. That's what we know, right? And we know that by watching her videos. So, yeah, this, in my personal opinion, this is enough for a mistrial. This is more than enough of a mistrial. If it wasn't for her having the illegal information, then yeah, it wouldn't have anything to do with this case. She'd be just like any other blogger who's basically putting information out there, about the news, right? But Tasha has, and just like they said, the grown little boy put himself in the case. Tasha, in my personal opinion, has put herself into that case because she's getting this illegal information and she's sharing it with the internet, and she was also in communication with the Clarys, right? Let me see if I can actually find that video for you. I know that my browser frees up sometimes. Tasha K. All right, so Tasha K, R Kelly might be innocent. She has lots of videos out there, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, so R. Kelly has been found not guilty once again. Thank you. No, that's not it. But I think this is the actual video, but I don't know what it's actually called. But this is a video by somebody else. But inside that video, uh, she talks about how R. Kelly uh, might be innocent, right? So she's involved herself in the case because of because she took this illegal information and then she basically distributed it, not only to the world, but she had direct communication with the actual alleged victims. So actually, hold on a second. YouTube News: Tasha K drags legendary lead attorney. How much? So this is actually the video that I was talking about. I think I'm going to watch this video, and maybe there'll be a part three. I without by accident I found the video. Maybe I'll go back and watch that. Um, so yeah, so Tasha K has, like I said, she's kind of put herself in the middle of all this, and she didn't have to. And I'm going to be critical of her, but she basically just did some stupid shit. I mean, that's the reality of it. When you sorry, when you go out and you go and get illegal information and you're sharing that illegal information with the allegedly, right? You're getting illegal information and you're distributing that information. And then you go in and you're talking to the alleged victims. Then you're influencing the case, and that's what this is all about. So how can a person have a fair trial when their phone calls are being intercepted, when their information is being intercepted, and this information hasn't even been to the courts, and they're intercepting all this information, and then they're taking it and they're taking it back to share with the allegedly they're taking it back to share with the alleged victims. How can that be a fair trial? And you have to understand that the government has a responsibility of making sure that they adhere to due process of law. And there can't be due process when you have people stealing serendipitous information, when you have people stealing privileged information and basically sharing it with not only the world but basically with the alleged victims, right? Because you're influencing the case, right? You're directly influencing the case, right? So yeah, definitely that case there should be a mistrial. I can guarantee you they're going to ask for a mistrial, right? And then it says, and she goes on, and the same way how many of you were celebrating that she lost the case of Cardi B, but but don't realize that she really didn't lose. She still has a channel, and she still talk about Cardi B. Um, I don't, and with this is a totally different thing here, but from my understanding, what's happening with that case is that Cardi B filed a claim against Tasha K. Tasha K, as a defense, filed a counterclaim. Now, the purpose of the counterclaim is to recoup any potential money that you would lose from the plaintiff's claim, right? So Tasha K lost her counterclaim. That means she has one less defense that she can actually use against Cardi B, right? But the lawsuit is still going on, right? Tasha K is losing, right? I think allegedly she's even come out on her own channel and said she lost, but she's still on her channel talking shit, right? And I forget what video she did that on, but she said that, right? So even she acknowledges that she lost, but you just have to use common sense. Just think about it. Tasha K has videos on her channel basically making allegations towards Cardi B, which damages Cardi B's image and her reputation, right? The evidence is on her videos. Tasha K lost her counterclaim, right? So now the only hope and prayer that she has is that she'll somehow basically find a way to keep Cardi B from winning. But that's going to be tough to do when the evidence is on your channel. And you should also take note that Tasha K has a separate channel now, right? Where she's starting to post content. And this is my own personal belief and theory, but I allege that she's expecting to have the proceeds from that channel taken, and she's basically going to shift and start working under the new channel. That's my you know allegation or my theory, right? That's why she has a separate channel, right? Because the second channel is basically the same as the first channel, but she could still run into trouble there. But I'm pretty sure she has lawyers basically directing her, right? But her second channel has a totally different name, so she can argue that it's a totally different business, right? So in my own personal opinion, it's just a matter of time. She's definitely going to lose a lawsuit with Cardi B. She's losing now. She's going to need some type of miracle to be able to come back and basically win, right? When it comes down to the federal government can get her anytime they want. They are simply doing what the federal government does, which is take their time. They can take their time for the next 2 years and then still turn around and charge her. So, that's it for this video. I didn't mean for it to go so long. Let me know what you think. Put your questions and comments below. Do you think I was wrong? Do you think I was off? Do you think I'm hating on Tasha K? Which I am not. That's it. Yeah. Like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.